they're going to announce if he's going to testify or not before the jury. He is, that's fine for me.
What? Who?
The defendant, I thought we were...
They say they haven't made up your mind yet. They're going to call other witnesses.
Okay. All rise.
All right, please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the state has concluded its proof. It is now the defense turn. As a matter of fact, the defense has already called one witness, as you will recall, and I believe they have several other witnesses. So we will start with defense proof. Who is your next witness?
Your Honor, Sarah Enoch.
Sarah Enoch, okay.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So you'll have to get kind of close to that mic.
Okay.
Not too close.
Okay.
Get that reverb. All right.
Miss, is it Enoch or Enoch?
Enoch.
Enoch.
Sorry.
Would you state your name for the record?
Sarah Enoch.
Okay. And where are you currently employed?
Innsworth School.
Okay. How do you know Mr. Batey?
I dated him for a while.
Okay. And when you say a while, can you tell me how long?
Probably about 2.5 years.
Was that in high school as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you all met at Ensworth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at any time during your relationship, did he ever force you to do anything?
What do you mean?
Object to that, Your Honor, please, Mr. Rose.
Right.
Your Honor, we're
Well-
here for...
Wait, let's step back for a second.
And Miss Enoch, in the 2.5 years, did you all have a normal relationship?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about June 2013. Were you a student anywhere?
At Stanford University.
Okay. And have you since graduated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you still in contact with Mr. Batey around that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Batey at any time on June 2013?
In the whole.
June 23rd, 2013?
Yes, I did. Well, yes, later that night. Or early in the morning of the 23rd.
Okay, and so why did you see him that day?
I got a call in the middle of the night asking me to come over to Vanderbilt.
Okay. And why did you come over?
He asked me to.
Okay. And was that normal? Do y'all, in the middle of the night or whatnot?
Sometimes I would receive calls from him in the middle of the night if he'd been out, but never once for me to leave my house.
Okay. And did he sound normal to you?
He sounded drunk on the phone.
Okay. And was that why you went over?
I don't know, he was just insistent, and I just said okay.
Say it again.
He was just insistent, and I just said okay.
And you said he sounded drunk. Could you expound?
I don't remember what he said. I mean, it's been about 3 years, but I just remember thinking that he was kind of overly nice on the phone, and
Was he slurring at all?
I don't remember.
And when you got there, was he drunk?
I don't remember anything about me being there.
Okay. And is it because it's been 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you had made any statements before saying that he had been slurring, would they be consistent? Your Honor, she says she doesn't remember, and I'm asking, I was about to refresh her memory because maybe it's been 3 years and everybody else has come here testifying, they refreshed their memories.
Well, it was the form of the question that they objected to. Okay.
Have you made any statements to anybody about this case before, or talked to anybody about this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever say in those statements that he was slurring?
Yeah, believe me, honestly, if it's a tape, the transcript, she can review it.
All right, I mean, I sustained the objection. She has to rephrase.
Well, yeah, I'd like to refresh your memory.
Okay.
Do you have yours?
You need to see it, Your Honor, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's some foundation for it. This is a transcript, Your Honor.
That's her email.
We've never seen this before, Your Honor, please. Very lengthy.
Your Honor, it's the email that she sent herself, and so just using it to refresh her memory. Not putting in evidence, just refresh her memory.
I'd like a chance to read it before I cross-examine her, obviously.
All right. Let her see.
Do you see where it's tabbed?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Enoch, I know it's been 3 years, so that's why I'm showing you this. Is that your email?
Yes, ma'am.
And you remember being asked how you knew he was drunk? Right there where the tab says.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And right there it says, I said his words were slurred and he was kind of just having trouble getting them out.
Yes, ma'am.
And I said his personality is different when he's drunk.
Is that what she said or what she said?
I don't know.
Does that say that? Is that what you say?
The thing is that it refreshed
Ms. Teasley, hold on.
Did she testify? Not what that says. Now has her recollection been requested where she can testify as to what she now remembers, not to read it.
Right.
Okay. I apologize. Ms. Enoch, would you read that portion right there?
She has to read it.
Read to yourself. Have you read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Do you remember saying that you knew he was drunk because his words were slurred?
Well, I said it.
Okay. And did you say his personality is different when he's drunk?
I did.
Lady,
Okay.
if she's legal, you can ask her.
I just asked an open question. Did you say that? And she just responded. Okay. Now, Ms. Enoch, you said you were with him 2.5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he normally drink a lot?
Some. Not, I wouldn't say a lot.
Okay. Now, after you came on that day to Gillette,
What day are you referring to?
this June 23rd, 2013,
What time of day?
do you remember what time you were there?
It was the middle of the night.
Okay,
I don't know what time exactly.
okay. It was late, early morning hours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you ended up staying the night?
Yes, ma'am.
You all didn't have sex?
And not that I remember.
Okay. What do you remember when you left that day?
The next morning?
Yes. Or earlier, since it was already morning, just later.
Later that morning. I left and they went to church.
Okay. Now, after you left, at any time, did you and Mr. Batey text?
I mean, that day?
No, anytime after June 23rd?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And I'd like to see Exhibit 42, please. And I'll take that. Thank you. I'm gonna pass this to her. I need the last one. I need the last one. And you look through those for me? Okay. That's fine. Okay. And do you remember those texts on June 25th, 2013 between you and Mr. Batey?
Yes, I remember the general conversation.
Okay. And in these, he says the word bitch.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, does he normally say the word bitch?
Your Honor, please, what he normally does is not relevant. She's leading again. Let the witness testify.
That's an open question. If I ask her if he normally does that, I'm not telling her the answer.
Well, the form of the question, okay. Go ahead.
Could you repeat the question?
Does he normally use that word?
I mean, yeah, he has used it plenty of times before.
Right? And he's used it all the time, just regular, or when he's mad?
I mean,
She's going to testify, just let her in.
Well,
That's funny.
you have to...
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. You remember us talking?
yes, ma'am.
And I asked you if he normally used those words.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you state?
Yeah, if he's upset about something or if he's angry.
Okay. Now, I don't have can I see that? I don't have that back page. I apologize.
This is the back one.
I have all of them except the very back page. Did Mr. Batey ever tell you anything about that night outside of what's in here?
Object to what he told her, Your Honor, please.
Well, she can answer that particular question, but anything further would...
What you just read,
Yes, ma'am.
the text messages. Did you all have any other conversations about what happened that night outside of these?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it consistent with what's in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And on June 25th, I believe in the last page I took from you, you pretty much just say, I was with you that night, I saw Tip and Brandon next morning, I can stick up for y'all. What were you meaning by that?
I just meant that I didn't think anything was out of the ordinary, and that if anybody were to ask me about that night, then that's what I would say.
And what's the rest of it say? I believe the top one.
It says, I was with you that night and I saw Tip and Brandon the next morning. I could stick up for y'all. Y'all weren't acting weird at all. If you had done anything bad, you would have been acting weird.
So when you said I can stick up for y'all, you were saying because they weren't acting weird.
Just meant I could tell somebody that they weren't acting weird if I were
Didn't-
asked.
Okay. You aren't saying that because you knew anything different?
No, ma'am.
Okay. One second. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
If I could please, Mel,
I believe we still haven't finished reading this. I don't know.
Okay, you want to take a minute or two? Go ahead.
Is there any other Jinx material besides this, Jonathan?
Let me ask, do you have any other Jinx material? Oh, yeah. Because you have other witnesses, right?
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, you heard me say jinx material. That's somewhat misleading. That's just the name of a case. It's not jinx and J-I-N-X. It's J-E-N-C-K-S, I believe. So it's totally different. And all it is if a person has a written statement about what he or she has said, that's called jinx material. Okay?
For Your Honor's benefit, Mr. Thurman and Ms. Norman were aware of that material, of this information, because it pertains to...
Your Honor, we have never seen this document before.
No,
It was just handed to
but they
us.
were
Mr.
part of the
Robinson?
conversation, yes, Your Honor.
All right. But
And we can ask the witness if they were or not.
About what conversation? I don't understand what he's saying.
well, I mean, let's just move on. That's jinx material. That's all it is. All right?
Enoch, how you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
And you dated Cory Batey for quite a long time, did you not?
Yes, sir.
And you were very involved with him after this incident occurred, did you not?
Yes, sir.
And did you feel you were in an exclusive relationship with him back in June of 2013?
Yes, sir.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not really relevant, what type of relationship.
Okay, sustained.
Well, I think it is to show her depth of her relationship with this man she's testifying for you.
It's not relevant, Your Honor's rule.
I have.
And this thing that you used to refresh your recollection, that was an email you sent back in December of 2014?
Yes, sir.
And that was basically telling defense attorney, Mr. Batey, what the district attorney's office had talked to you about and asked you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you were assisting the defense by telling them what questions we'd ask and stuff?
They asked me what we talked about.
Okay, we've talked a couple of times, have we not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, once in the DA's office.
Correct.
And do you recall in the DA's office whether you told us that he slurred his speech?
If I wrote that, then I would say that I said that, but I don't remember everything I
You
said.
don't remember him slurring his speech now, though, right?
No, sir. I don't.
In fact, you recall telling me the reason that you felt he was drunk was because he was being nice,
Overly nice.
overly nice.
Nicer than normal, I guess.
Now, I think the phone records show that this call from Cory Batey was around 3:20 a.m.
Sounds.
I assume were you sleeping at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I think you called him back
Okay.
within about a minute, so I assume you were woke up by the phone and then you called him back. You just talked for a minute. According to phone records, that sound accurate to you? I know it's been 3 years.
Yes, sir.
So in that minute, he requested you to come over to the dorm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I think you arrived at 3:47 a.m. So
Okay.
I assume you very quickly put on clothes and got in the car and went.
I
Okay.
guess so.
And when you got there, you called him on the phone, right?
I don't remember, but
You
I'm
wouldn't
sure I
have been
have.
able to get in the dorm unless he let
Right.
you in. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
You've seen the surveillance video, have you not?
Of him letting
Of
me
you
in?
getting there and walking in with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he responded to your phone call. You actually made 2 phone calls. You remember that?
I don't.
One within a minute of each other.
I don't, but I would imagine that's correct.
And you basically said you don't really remember anything about that night after that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't remember when his roommate was in the room?
No, sir.
You don't remember anything you all might have done when you went straight to sleep or when anything else happened?
I don't remember.
And you said you did remember that they were going to church the next morning. Who was they exactly?
I know it was at least Cory and Tip McKenzie.
Okay.
I don't remember whether or not there was.
Chris Boyd also going?
I don't remember.
Were you aware it was a football thing? Wide receiver coach was requiring them to go to church?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, sir.
So there wasn't any discussion that you recall about, I've got to go to church?
No, sir.
And then obviously, these texts would have already been put into evidence. Were you and him discussing what was going on? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he told you nothing had happened for a long period of time, did he not?
Yes, sir.
And this one text would have probably been much fresher in your mind. It was 2 days after the incident where you sent this text where you admit, you say, I was with you that night. I saw Tip and Brandon next morning. I can stick up for you all. Y'all weren't acting weird at all. If you had done anything bad, you would have been acting weird. So there's nothing, his actions that night that you recall 2 days later that you thought was out of character, unusual.
No, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions there.
Read the record. All right, thank you, ma'am. Your excuse. Next witness. Who's your next witness?
Bromwich, and she's supposed to be here at 11 o'clock. She said she was coming up, so.
Well, they'll check out there and see if she's here.
Okay.
And this is toxicology expert?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and will the state stipulate that she's an expert? All right. Okay, well, we'll take a 5-minute break.
We're in a 5-minute recess. 5 minutes.
All rise.
All right, please be seated. All right, count sworn in.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and as I stated, she will be testifying as an expert in toxicology.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
April Bramlage.
Okay. And how are you employed?
I'm employed at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in the Nashville Crime Lab in the toxicology unit.
And what is your official title?
Special Agent, Forensic Scientist.
And what is the area in which you regularly practice?
Regularly on a daily basis, I am a toxicologist, so I perform analysis on typically blood and urine to determine if there's drugs or alcohol present.
And are you a member of any forensic toxicology societies?
I am.
Okay. And how many drug cases and forensic blood cases have you participated in?
At least 3,000 to 3,500 drug cases and at least 6,000 alcohol cases.
Okay. Did Your Honor announce the stipulation that the state... Okay. And were you engaged to render services in this particular investigation?
I was.
Okay. And who engaged you to do that?
The sample was requested by Jason Mayo from the Metro Nashville Police Department.
Okay. And do you have any type of request form that you receive typically if you're asked by the Metro Police Department to perform a task?
Yes,
Okay. And do you have that with you today?
I do.
Okay. Your Honor, if we could make a copy of that at some point and just introduce that as the next exhibit, please.
53, I believe. Right, yeah, 53. That is the request form, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There are several here. Do you just want the one that has the items of evidence I submitted? 'Cause there's like 4 different request forms. You just want all of them?
Let's just request,
Okay.
let's just put them all in one collective exhibit if we can.
Well, I think the only relevant one would be the request for testing evidence, not all of the requests to be out.
And I agree with that, Your Honor. I just assumed all 4 requests were to her.
Okay, well, just use the one that was the one that was mentioned as relevant, all right? Just copy that one. Which one is that, Ms. Bramlage? Agent Bramlage.
I believe it's the second one. Just this one.
All right, thank you.
And can you tell us what you were provided for testing?
Yes.
What you were asked to test?
It was a top representative from near the front door at 1900 South Drive, room 213. A red and white towel from near the front door of 1900 South Drive, room 213. And a crusty material from the tub on the floor beside the closet at 1900 South Drive, room 213.
Okay. And what was the purpose of your engagement by Detective Mayo?
He just had requested that I determine if I could find any items, any sort of biological material on these items, and then try and extract any drugs from it.
Okay. And did you find any such material or drugs?
I did, thank you.
Okay. And did you do a toxicology report on the items you were able to extract?
I did.
And did you generate a written report?
Yes.
And do you have it in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I would like to move as the next. If I may.
Okay, moving the evidence, the toxicology report.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine.
She can identify it and.
Okay, 54.
Okay.
You have one here.
And may I?
To identify it.
So yes, this is a copy of my report.
Okay. And after it's marked, may I use that again to put on the overhead, please? Overhead projector.
Put a screen, please. All right.
Cool.
Mine just went out, Judge.
Well, mine did too. It's up again.
Okay.
our new system. We love it.
Okay, Ms. Bramlage, or Agent Bramlage, does this on the screen appear to be the first page of your toxicology report?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and let me, just going to do this. And it was sent to Jason Mayo, is that what it says in the top left-hand corner?
Yeah, the report was addressed to him, yes.
Okay, and what was the date issued, please?
July 15th, 2013.
Okay, and it states the subjects, does it not?
It does.
Okay, and it states who you received the samples from, is that right?
Yes, who submitted them to the laboratory, yes.
Okay. And down here, down towards the bottom where it says exhibits, are these the items listed? Are they what you previously testified
Yes.
to as the items you were provided?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to, and I believe let's see, 002A would be the top. And what did you find with regard to your toxicology results about the top from?
Areas on the top that I tested, the result that it was negative for basic drugs, negative barbiturate, presumptively negative for barbiturates, negative for benzodiazepines, cannabinoids, cocaine, opiates, and then it was also negative on a more specific benzodiazepine test that we perform.
Okay, and let me, the toxicology results for the top are continued on the second page, are they not?
Yes.
And you, I believe, listed, okay, so where it says under the date at the top 7/15/13, that these results are about the top.
Correct. Exhibit 02A, yes.
02A, okay. And would you read those one more time, just so?
Oh, sure. Starting at the top of this page,
Yes.
it was, again, negative for cannabinoids, cocaine, opiates, and there were no benzodiazepines detected on our specific test.
Okay. And 003A was the green towel near the front door at 1900 South Drive, room 213?
Yes.
Okay. And I see 003A, are these the results from your testing on the green towel?
They are, yes.
Okay. And could you tell the jury what your findings were from that test?
From the areas tested from that item, I found that there were no basic drugs detected, and it was presumptively negative for barbiturates, benzodiazepines, cannabinoids, cocaine, opiates, and then negative for benzodiazepines on our specific test.
Okay. The next item you tested, 004A, which is that the red and white towel from near the front door of room 213?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your findings with regard to the testing you did on the red and white towel?
I found the areas that I tested to be positive for fluoxetine, presumptively negative for barbiturates, benzodiazepines, cannabinoids, cocaine, opiates, and no benzodiazepines detected specifically.
Okay. And what is fluoxetine?
Fluoxetine is Prozac. It's an antidepressant.
Okay. And I'll come back to that. All right. If we can look at 008A, is that the crusty material from the tub on the floor beside the closet from room 213?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your findings with regard to the testing you did on the crusty material?
That was found to be no basic drugs detected, presumptively negative for barbiturates, benzodiazepines, cannabinoids, cocaine, opiates, and no benzodiazepines detected specifically.
Okay. And I believe you provided your final disposition and provided a signature at the bottom of page 2, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And would you state the disposition, please?
All examinations have been completed. Please pick up evidence within 30 days.
Now, did the police department at any time provide you with any blood or urine? Okay. And obviously that would have been something that you could have tested in your lab, is it not?
Yes.
And you are aware of any alleged date rape drugs that cannot be detected in blood or urine?
They can be detected if the time frame is right.
Okay. Now, your lab does not test for all of those drugs, right?
No, we cannot do all of them.
Okay. But you know where they can be sent, blood or urine, to be tested because your lab doesn't do that, right?
Yes, we have other laboratories we can outsource to.
Okay. What is the timeline or window to test urine for drugs?
The guideline recommended...
For any drugs, including any commonly known date rape drug?
Recommended guidelines set forth by the Society of Forensic Toxicologists, which I'm a member of, is 120 hours window for urine and within 24 hours for blood.
Okay. And again, the Metro Police Department never provided a urine sample for you to test, right?
I did not obtain one, no.
Okay. Now, you were provided dried vomit from a towel to test, is that right? The crusty material?
Yeah, that's what it was represented to me as, yes.
Okay. And I believe you said that your lab is not equipped to test for GHB, which is also known and used as a date rape drug, right?
Yes, we cannot detect GHB.
Okay. But there are other labs that can detect that, right?
Yes.
And the vomit specimen that was given to you to analyze, did you send it back to Metro so they could send it off for additional testing if they chose?
I did return it to them.
And to your knowledge, did they do any further testing on the vomit?
Well, it is leading, but I think she could go ahead and answer. Do you know?
I have no idea.
Now, the fluoxetine that showed up in this report, what's the effect of that on the central nervous system when mixed with that? Or what's the effect of the fluoxetine if mixed with alcohol?
So fluoxetine is an antidepressant. It really does not have any co-interaction with alcohol. The only time you may see an effect from fluoxetine on its own is if there's a change in dosage, and then it reaches a steady state and it alleviates what antidepressant you need. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, so it works in a totally different part of the body and does different types of things than fluoxetine. They really don't have any kind of co-interaction, positive or negative.
Okay. Well, and what does alcohol do to the central nervous system?
So as a central nervous system depressant, alcohol works to slow down the body in that it slows down the communication of the brain to the rest of the body. And that results in delayed reaction time that results in slowed cognitive thinking, slowed decision-making, lack of coordination, all types of things that are going to not only slow the body down in a way that you can see, but cognitively as well.
And what type of effect does alcohol have, continuing with that line of thinking about acting in or out of character?
Court, please, I'm going to object. I think the Sarah expert they're calling is way outside the report. She wasn't asked about alcohol in the report.
She is an expert and can testify about alcohol and its use on the central nervous system. She's a toxicologist, Your Honor.
Well, if she has that particular knowledge, you can ask.
So,
you were telling us about some of the things that alcohol does, like lower inhibitions, slow decision-making, lack of coordination. What about the effect of continuing to act in character or out of character?
that would go with reduced inhibitions in that alcohol works to reduce the inhibitions, so when you're sober, you may not say something or do something where when under the influence of alcohol, those inhibitions have gone away to where you may say something, you may act something not that you would do when you were sober.
That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
So the Prozac you found, that's prescription Prozac, that would not interact with alcohol at all.
No.
In fact, it might even lessen the effect of alcohol, might because it's depressant.
It doesn't really work that way. They're hitting different parts of the brain, totally different chemicals in the brain, so antidepressant as a psychological thing is different than my body is depressed. Those are two different things.
And you were aware in Davidson County at some time the forensic examiners send urine and blood out to the Vanderbilt lab instead of TBI?
They may, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lab at Vanderbilt to contest.
Okay.
And you don't know whether that happened in this case?
No.
Now let's talk. There are several drugs that are called date rape drugs. That's not their purpose, but they're used for that. They're not manufactured date rape drugs, obviously. But there are several of those, are there not?
Yes.
Okay, and some of them act very fast, some of them don't act so fast. Is that fair to say?
Yes, optimally you want one to act fast, but yeah.
And some can act almost as quickly as 24 hours of getting out of your blood, right? Or a lot of them act that quickly.
Yes, that's why the guideline of 24 hours for blood is there.
The 120-hour guideline is really doesn't apply to all those, does it?
No, the 120 hours is kind of a catch-all to be able to see anything possible in that drugs, when you take a drug, your body breaks it down to get it out, and it creates something called metabolites, and the metabolites tend to be captured in the urine. So if I can see even a metabolite of a drug, I would probably see more likely that, depending on the drug, up to 120 hours.
Yeah, that's the max. And like Valium, you might find it within 120 hours. So there's some of the older drugs that might be used in 120 hours, but there are numerous drugs that outside 72 hours won't be found. Is that correct?
Less than 120, yes.
Okay. Because 72 is kind of the guideline that most people use in the profession, although you could go to 120, right?
Yeah, I know 120 is kind of the new push, based on new technology.
And now manufacturers, because of the use of these drugs, they now make several of them change color if they're placed in a drink. Is that correct?
Yes. Flunitrazepam, which is Rohypnol, the actual trade non-generic version, the manufacturers have caused it to, when it's diluted in a drink, to turn the drink blue in a clear drink.
Okay. And there's other manufacturers doing that with other drugs too now, aren't there?
There may be, I can't think of one off the top of my head, besides Rohypnol.
And what would you say date rape drugs affect? How do they affect a person's loading? symptoms if you've had a date rape drug?
So the whole point of date rape drugs would be to sedate somebody, possibly to the point of where they don't have any recollection. So really, any drug that causes sedation can be termed a date rape drug. These work similarly to alcohol, only they're more fast-acting, they're more potent. So the drug is meant to go ahead, typically if it's given in a legit, real thing, it's typically for somebody to actually help them fall asleep. So some date rape drugs may be a sleeping pill. The idea is you go to sleep, you wake up, you're fine. In combination with alcohol, you've now exacerbated that central nervous system depressant effect to where not only do you have this drug causing you to be sedate, you have alcohol on top of it.
Okay, so what would be the symptom of a person reacting to one of these drugs and alcohol?
Depending on the level of drug and alcohol, mild sedation to extreme sedation to sleeping.
Loss of memory?
Some of the drugs cause loss of memory.
Vomiting?
That may be due more to the increase of the alcohol.
And what you tested here was some vomit recovered from the room, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was collected, you were some 90 hours after the actual event, where the person vomited?
It was, you're asking me if I know it was?
If that's the testimony, it was 90 hours after that, you don't know the time of it?
No.
Okay. And hypothetically, with some of these drugs, as far as your stomach contents, if you're about to have an empty stomach, you drink alcohol, and you ingest one of these drugs, they could get out of your stomach contents very quickly, could they not?
If the stomach is relatively empty and all that is in the stomach is alcohol, yes, because alcohol on an empty stomach, based on studies and research done, will absorb within 15 minutes. So anything really on board with that will tend to move with it in 15 minutes and go on through the rest of the body.
So easily could be out within an hour.
Most stomach contents are within an hour. You would expect it to be on to the rest of the body.
And so it's very possible there could be a drug and you wouldn't find it if the drug had been taken more than an hour prior to throwing up.
That's possible.
Okay. And also, if a person had thrown up once before the vomit that you tested, could that affect whether or not you might find what was remaining in the stomach?
It may, yes.
And also, when you test the vomit, you have to treat it with water, do you not?
Yes, if it's a dried material, and I have to use water to rehydrate it and try to get any drug out of it.
So it's possible the water could destroy some part of the samples.
If there was a small amount of drug present, my adding the water may have diluted that drug down to a level to where maybe I might not be able to see it if it was a very small amount.
Okay. And as you said, you don't test for all date rape drugs or drugs classified as date rape drugs. Now, is there any scientific literature studies on how these type drugs dissipate in open air, like if they're out someplace for 3 to 4 days, whether they would dissipate out?
Not that I'm aware of. Most studies are it's in a biological fluid.
So you really don't know the effect of not testing for some 90 hours or so?
No, there's no specific literature on that I was able to find.
So your testimony is basically you did not detect any drug you could classify as a date rape drug in your testing of this particular vomit?
That's correct.
But you're not saying it couldn't have been there and you couldn't have seen it, or it could have been diluted out prior to your testing, is that correct?
There may have been drug there. There may not have been drug there. All I know is that what's on the report.
Okay. So So you can't say with any degree of scientific certainty that there wasn't a date rape drug there, just that you didn't find one?
Yeah, not with the sample I was provided and some of the limitations we have in our laboratory.
All right, that's all the question.
Agent Bramlage, did you say that you can test for date rape drugs?
We test for a range of benzodiazepines, which are commonly thought of as date rape drugs, but we cannot test for everything that's considered a date rape drug.
Okay. But you know other labs that do test for those other drugs, right?
Yes.
And blood, and you talked about biological fluids. Blood and urine are biological fluids, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were never asked to do additional testing request. You were never asked to request additional testing.
And not proper reading.
I'll rephrase. Were you ever asked by Detective Mayo or anybody from the Metro Police Department to have additional testing made on the crusty material?
Slight objection, I think.
Right.
When, if at any time, were you asked by Detective Mayo or anyone else in the Metro Police Department to have additional testing performed on the crusty material or any other item you were asked to test?
I was not asked.
And if the police don't send you the urine to check, then obviously we'll never know what was in there, right?
I did not receive any urine or blood, just the materials listed here.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
You had to see the 90 hours after, there's no assurance you would have found the date rape drug even if it's in there, is that correct?
No, there's no assurance that I would have found.
Could have very easily gotten out within 90 hours.
It's possible, yes.
That's all the question.
Is the better practice to test it anyway, or just don't test it because it might not be there? What's the better practice?
The other place it was tested, it's in the record, I don't know.
Not the urine, Your Honor.
Well,
He's
she
asking
said she
about-
didn't test the urine. I
It was
mean,
tested in the Vandenburg lab, that's what the nurse practitioner testified.
And I'm asking her, what's the better practice? To test urine or not to test it? What's the better practice?
If urine is available, it would be helpful to test.
That's all I have, Judge.
Okay, anything further?
Wouldn't be helpful to retest it, would it, if another lab had tested it?
What?
What was the question?
I said if another lab had already tested
Right.
it, would it be smart for you to test it too?
If I'm asked to test it, I'm going to test it.
Okay.
I'll say that.
All right, anything further? Okay, thank you, Agent.
Yes, sir.
You're excused.
Your Honor, I would add that, never mind.
All right. Next witness.
Your Honor, it's 11:52, and we wanted to know if we could just have to after lunch before we call our next witness.
Well, do you have your next witness here?
Yes, she is here. We needed time.
Well, we can go for 10 minutes. I mean,
She just got here this morning early on the Greyhound, and so we just wanted to kind of have time to,
you have not met with her.
we talked to her on the phone, but she just got here
We
early
have not
this
met
morning.
with her yet.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We will be in 1 hour lunch break, 1 hour, all right?
General Moore.
Okay.
Judge, I know who I'll have to answer to at the back about this, but in just going back through this again, the instruction for aggravated sexual battery, the part that I've marked through, that the alleged victim intentionally touched the
Right,
defendant's.
I took that out.
Okay, good. That's what we were
I took it out about 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Saved me a few moments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Will be in a 1 hour lunch recess. Any further